Attention! The National Weather Service has issued a hurricane warning for the entirety of the National Hockey League. Please stay tuned for further information from the Storm Cellar.
Welcome back to the Storm Cellar. It's a Brad and Ray week. Had a guest unfortunately could not join us today, but that's not a problem whatsoever. Ray, so we are going to do a new segment today and get into a little more of the what's going on with the team story. That's what we need to talk about.
It's going to be fun.
I'm going to predicate that by saying every year, folks, it happens every year. They have like an annual 2 to 3 week, just malaise that they have to work through. It's nothing new. They're still in third in the Metro. They're, in front of the wild card teams, by enough points. That's not really an issue. But why? Why every second period and why every year, do we have a funk? Is it injuries? Is it attitude? I don't know. But my attitude's fine. My attitude's good, Ray. How's your attitude?
I thought I was still going to be angry about Friday night. And I said it numerous times on social media. I don't mind losing games. No team in the NHL is going to go 82-0. That is fact. Okay. But what I will not stand for is teams that aren't when the Hurricanes get outworked. Like if we get outworked and lost, you just can't let the other team outwork you. That's it. Mm-hmm. And it was funny because I was really unhappy with the team, and then the press conference after the game, Rod thought the guys played pretty well. It had me confused, which is what spawned the idea for the new segment that we have coming up a little later in the program. That take really made me think about what's come to this. So I thought, let's make up a new segment. It's coming up a little later on. That's a teaser for those of you who are not familiar with broadcasting terms. But first, we're going to talk about the games. Let's talk about the games. We win at the start of first of all, let's say, I want to say this. I learned one thing in the Canes Sharks game earlier in the week.
Mm-hmm.
That Celebrini is something else.
That kid's he's got skills.
Wow. Like he's a menace.
Yeah.
Every time he's out on the ice, something is happening. It's like he's its own little injection of, they don't win all the games, but they are getting scoring chances every time he is on the ice. He was very fun to watch. I don't know, what did you think? In my eyes, we were lucky to come away with a win.
Yeah, I mean, you come back down. You need 2 in the third to beat one of the worst couple of teams in the league. That's not good. I agree with Celebrini. Celebrini this year so far has been, it's been interesting, right? Because Bedard is in Chicago, and they're basically playing the Rod Blindemore, let's put everybody with him to try and get him going, and it's just not really working. And again, a phenomenal talent, but
I'm with you.
You can see him working, but things aren't connected, and things are connected right now for Celebrini. I will say it was fun for me to see Orlov when Celebrini was trying to go up the middle, and Orlov just kind of took him by a hand and just manhandled him, one-handed. I'm like, that's the man versus boys nature of being a young guy in the NHL right there. Like, give him a couple more years, that probably won't happen, but
no.
But yeah, I mean, fun to watch. Fun to watch,
It was very fun to watch. I was glad that Chatfield got the game winner. That's why we throw pucks onto the net. That was one that Vanacek, who was actually playing not too badly. I'll say, the Hurricanes have had their way with Vanacek mostly. You know what I mean? Like he's had good games against us, but for the most part, uh, we've had his number. And this time around, it was a little bit different. He was playing pretty solid. We were getting some good chances, and he was turning them back. And then third period, we managed to come back Caniacs, cardiac canes. I mean, whatever you want to call it. It
Living up to
was,
the moniker.
yeah. And uh, what I've found as a fan, I hate chasing the game. I know
Hmm.
that the players probably hate having to chase the game too. But we made jokes last week about, and yours was perfect. You know, the game starts in 6 minutes. All I want is that we not give up a goal in 7 minutes from now. Like that's really what we were showing up to the games late.
Right. And that's, I mean, when you start the game down a goal, I mean,
It's
my gosh,
hard.
how much? I mean, it's already hard. But so the Sharks game was interesting to me for a couple of reasons. Three goal scorers, Gossespierre, Burns, and Chatfield. No offensive
Aldi,
production, 44% win, face-off percentage wins, over 4 on the power play. Just from your forward perspective, brutal. Just ugly,
dismal.
just awful.
Yeah.
And then to take it into the Ottawa game, you get shut out. You go 0 for 2 on the power play. You win less than half the faceoffs again.
Hmm.
So you haven't had a goal from a forward since Jesperi Kotkaniemi scored that little flip it goal at the end of the Islanders game,
That didn't
which
matter.
I really
Yeah.
don't count. So if you go back to before that, it was the Andrei Svechnikov goal in the second period. So it's been 140 minutes of ice time without your forwards doing anything productive and going 0 for 6 on the power play. I mean,
Yikes.
not good. I mean, we're going to talk about how it's not all doom and gloom, but let's be honest here. It's not all, puppies and kittens and roses either.
Yeah.
Something has to change. I mean,
And what I'll say after the game against the Sens, Aho did something that I was really impressed with, and it made me think back to Shorzy. Those fans who love Shorzy and have watched it, there was one segment where the ladies that own the team were talking with the reporter, and the comment that what they love about hockey players is that when they win and you talk to a player, it's we
mhm,
played great, we did what we need. But when they lose, they take it personal and they say,
mhm.
I need to be better, I'm not doing enough. And that is exactly what Aho said after the game. I'm not doing enough. Now
I agree with
remember,
him.
but remember, and this is the thing, he's a pointy game guy right now,
Still, yeah.
still, and he's still saying, I'm not doing enough. I'm not playing well enough. So for those of us out there who are maybe pointing a finger and gnashing teeth at Aho, understand whatever we're saying pales in comparison to what he says about himself.
Hmm.
And you also have to know, based on his history, that he's going to be working hard, very, very hard to change that.
Yeah.
So that's, I guess, the good news about this. I mean,
Yeah,
the
still
even
not
better,
worried about him, but yeah, I mean, he
yeah,
does need to. And for me, it's as much defensive as it is points, right? He's getting a point per game.
yep,
That's fine. That's where he's always been. I'm happy he's there, but he's a -6. And his
that's
line
unusual.
in Andrei Svechnikov's a big part of that. His line needs to be better defensively, and that's saying something about one of the premier two-way, forwards in the league. So,
Yeah, yeah. So the record, we're now 18, 10, and 1. And
Yep.
this, the sucky weeks, like you pointed out, it happens every year. I think this time around, if you really take some time to think about it and remember how things have been in previous years, this one feels like a little bit easier to handle and less to worry about because they played so well at the start, and it's like they banked a lot of wins knowing that the sucky weeks were coming. Does that sound?
It
I
does. I
mean,
mean, and that's we. I think it was last year's bad start. That was part of what we said
oh,
was early in the season you need to beat the teams you should beat because you don't know what's going to happen with injuries, with trades, with just the schedule and the grind. You need to put away the teams you can put away early so that those are nobody can take those away from you.
mhm.
I agree. Even with the annual Canes, malaise is what I called it. You got your 10th loss on December 13th, 34% of the way into the season.
That's not too bad.
There are 7 teams who don't have 10 losses yet. 7 out of 32,
Yeah.
right? Maple Leafs, top of the Atlantic. They've already
Yep.
got 10. Panthers, second in the Atlantic. They already have 11. The Bruins, they have 13. Tampa Bay has 10. Ottawa has 13. The Washington Capitals, one of the few teams that don't have 10.
Yeah.
The Devils, the Hurricanes have 10. The Flyers, Rangers have 13. The Jets, who were off to the hottest start in history, have
Yeah.
9. You know,
Yeah.
the Stars have 11. The Avalanche have 14, right? The Oilers have 10, and they got 10 pretty quickly. They've actually gotten better.
They
So
did.
it is what it is. It's that time of year that, for better or for worse, the good thing is it gives us things to talk about, right?
Yes.
I mean, we can't just, it's really nice when they're just winning 7 or 8 in a row, and we're just like, well, let's be nitpicky, and because what else are we going to talk about other than how great they are? Well, we don't have to be nitpicky right now, but it's not all doom
No.
and gloom. That's for folks who are newer fans or who are like us and are just emotional during games. It's not all doom and gloom. They're going to be fine. They're still third in the Metro. They are well above the 2 wild card spots, which right now would go to, I think it is the Flyers and the Senators, maybe. You're fine. I mean, if this continues, if you continue losing to non-playoff teams like they have been doing, that's not good. But a
Yeah.
couple of weeks slide here and there, every team is going to go through it. The Capitals have 44 points, right? They have 6 losses. At some point, they're going to create. I mean, at some point, they're
They're
going
gonna
to go through a spell.
they're gonna come back. They're gonna come
Right.
back, no
Right.
question.
Nobody maintains a 759 win percentage for a whole season.
No, you
It just
can't.
isn't going to happen. So it's okay, right? The big thing is you're 4, 5, and 1 in your last 10. You need to be on the positive side of 500 at a minimum.
Hmm.
If you can't get to 6 or 700, which is where Rod Brind'Amore's teams normally are in that mid 600 range, and overall for the year they're at 638. So if you can just stick, if you can just get back to playing, 650 hockey, you're fine. Like you'll make the playoffs. You hopefully will win around and continue that streak, and then who knows? So
There you go. Do you want to do it? Do you want to go to the new segment now?
yeah, let's jump in.
Awesome. So, as I had mentioned earlier, watching I was furious with the effort against the Sens. I didn't think anyone really played particularly well outside of the goaltenders. Um, and we got all marked, which was unusual because he has a terrible record in Carolina, or
Mm-hmm.
had a terrible record in Carolina, as did the Senators. You realize the Senators had not won in Raleigh for 7 years?
No, wow.
It was something crazy. They couldn't win a game here. So that should have been a win, right? Like if you're looking at the past. So I'm furious. You're furious. We can't share any of the texts that we shared between each other because this is a family program. And then I see the press conference and I'm watching. I want to hear Rod's take because he's going to deliver the goods, right? Like he doesn't usually mince words. He says it like it is. And
Yep.
he does the press conference and essentially says, that was a pretty good game from the guys. They played pretty well. And I was still in the anger fog thinking to myself, Rod, what the heck are you talking about? Now, was he given credit to the opposition? Certainly. I thought that the Senators played a perfect game, but I was looking for effort. I was looking for urgency in the third,
Mm-hmm.
which just didn't seem to be there. Not once at any point in the game did we have that telltale uh, section of the game where the Hurricanes are forechecking the heck out of the opposition and holding the puck in the offensive zone for 2-3 shifts. You know what I mean? They do that
Mm-hmm.
on the regular, and that just did not happen. Senators wouldn't allow it to happen. And that to me was just more effort on their part than ours. And so I started to think, am I wrong? Did I see a different game than Rod did? Am I wrong? Because look, Rod knows way more about hockey than I ever will, ever. And so it got me thinking, hey, that sounds like a cool idea. I could come up with I don't mind questioning myself. People can call me out all the time because, hey, I might be wrong. So I thought, let's do a section on the show and we'll call it, Am I Wrong? Just that's it. Am I wrong? And so you and I have come up with two statements each, and we're going to throw it out there. And this will give some of you listening in your car, in your workouts and stuff, you can answer us back too. Feel free because
Yeah.
we'd really like to get your take on these things.
Yep.
And I'm
And to preface one thing real quick, Ray, just
sure.
like you said, Rod Brindamore has forgotten more about hockey than you and I will ever know, right? I mean,
Yeah,
he's been there
100%.
on that stage. He knows. It doesn't make him infallible.
Right.
So
That's right.
part of where this segment comes from is, on one hand, in Rod we trust, but in one hand, that doesn't mean Rod or anyone doesn't make mistakes, right?
Yeah.
You know, uh, to put it in local news, Bill Belichick just got hired as UNC's head football coach. The man has, I think it's 8 total Super Bowl rings, 6 as head coach
Yeah.
of the New England Patriots. And his last couple years were abysmal, and
Terrible.
nobody in the NFL wants to hire him, even though he's 15 wins short of the all-time win record from Don Shula. Right? Bill
Yeah.
Belichick has Bill Belichick knew more about football when he was 10 than I will ever know,
Yeah.
probably.
Agreed.
But it doesn't
Agreed.
mean that when I watched Patriots game back in the day, I didn't see things that were major mistakes, like benching one of your best defensive players in the Super Bowl and getting your butt kicked. Right? So
Yeah.
just throwing it
Yeah.
out there. Part of I'm with you. I don't mind being wrong. If we weren't wrong, that would be super boring.
It
Not
would
not
be.
only as a podcast, but as people in general. Like if everybody just agrees on everything all the time, like, oh, that'd be the worst. We wouldn't need different, Caniac podcasts and things talking about different aspects with different opinions because we'd all just agree on everything. That's awful. So,
Yeah.
but I'm with you. We propose a statement, and then if people disagree, would love to hear back from you on Blue Sky or what have you, Facebook, whatever it is, and say, oh yeah, no, I don't agree with that. So
Yeah. And then tell us why. It's a great little talking
yeah,
point.
I'm always open to learning. So
It sparks a discussion and debate. And so uh if you don't mind, like I thought of the segment and I kind of sneak attacked you on it before we started the show. So I'm going to throw mine first.
yeah,
Okay.
please,
Here's
please.
here's the first statement. Carolina needs a second line center more than they need a goaltender. Am I wrong?
So, do you want to give evidence to it, or should I agree or disagree first?
You can agree, disagree, and then we'll talk it out.
And then we'll go, okay. Ooh, um, I hadn't thought of it in that context, but I think, man, I don't disagree. Does that count? Is that an option? I don't know.
No, we'll talk this out. This is a new segment.
Yeah,
So yeah, let's talk it out.
Look, Jesperi Kotkaniemi started out the season as 2C. And was playing fine. He was handling his defensive responsibilities. He was winning faceoffs. He was using his body. He was getting points. Now, the question then becomes how much of that is because Marty Necas started the season on an all-time Canes heater, and how much of that was just Jesperi doing the things that he needs to do to be successful. If you think that that was mostly Marty Necas, then the answer to your question is yes, they need a 2C more than a goaltender. I think that Jesperi was helping drive that line. I remember the first 2 or 3 games, the connection between him and Robinson in particular, where they could have buried a couple of goals and got a couple of goals. And I'm like, wow, those guys are on the same page. This is fantastic. This is what we've needed. In which case the answer is no. We need a goaltender who, as much as I love Piotr, literally lets in 1 soft goal per game. I can't think of the last game that he didn't let in a soft goal. Now, when you let in a soft goal and you lose 0-2 or was 0-3 to the Sens, not your fault. So I'm not saying the losses are on Piotr, but I am saying down 1 pulling the goalie is different than down 2 pulling the goalie. You know what I mean?
Yep.
So I don't think you're wrong. I think we are more. Let me rephrase. I think Eric Tulsky agrees with you, and that's really what matters. I think Eric Tulsky is more likely to go get a 2C than he is to go get a goalie right now.
Yeah. And look, I know how controversial that statement is, considering the goaltending situation that we have is on a knife's edge right now. Freddie will not be back until February, maybe, and that's a maybe for him. Piotr has been injured before, and his style of play is aggressive and puts him into precarious situations where he could get injured. And while Spencer Martin is down in Chicago right now, and we are backed up by Tokarski, we haven't seen Tokarski in net. Yep. So it's a very dangerous situation right now. That said, I think if we found a second line center that could be consistent and make us that deep, I think that we could ride whichever goaltender. We need just a stable, healthy, reasonable goaltender and still win a great many games.
Yep. And to clarify my point, because there's been talk, right? Oh, they are maybe in on Gibson. Well, it's like the 3rd or 4th time they've been in on Gibson, right, over the years, right? Oh, they might have been on Wedgwood, might have been on Blackwood, but they haven't pulled the trigger.
Yeah,
you know what I mean. So it's going back to the old, Don Waddell, days. Eric Tulsky is not really any different. He's in on anybody who might help the club.
Yeah.
So when I say I think he is more likely to maybe get a 2C than a goaltender, I think that would be working from what Rod probably wants. Jury's out. Thumbs sound insignificant on one level, and you're like, oh, it's a thumb. Like, a couple of weeks, or you throw it in cast and you're fine. You can't. Like, if you can't use your thumb, you can't use your stick. So thumb injuries can be a month, and they can be 3 months, depending on what needed to happen. So assuming Drury's out for a while, right? They call up Tyson Jost, which is, we'll get to in a minute.
Yeah.
But that means KK has to be the 2C. And if that's not the comfortable place for Rod, to put him if Rod's like, that's not where I'm going to play him. That's not what I want to do. I feel like trading him out for a potential 2C would be the more likely move.
A better situation.
So
Yeah, so there you go. So there you go. That's the first one, and you know, I think that's probably the way to go. Get ourselves a good 2C. I said this 2 seasons ago. You'll remember when we really needed a 2C. I looked at Bo Horvat because of the
mhm.
style that he played and stuff. He went to the Islanders.
Yep.
The Islanders are struggling right now. They might be willing to let someone go. And
Yeah. And
I
Corey
mean,
Laviolette
when
from the
time comes,
Athletic said something. I forgot if it was Horvat or if it was
it was Brock Nelson.
Brock Nelson. And I was like, no, that's not what I want. But Horvat, maybe, yeah, but
Yeah.
not Brock Nelson. So
And I
I
wouldn't mind Nelson either because I dig the way he works and his style and stuff like that. He's a
yeah.
leader. He would fit into the locker room fine. But to me, Horvat, who has struggled this season, is still the guy that has the talent and
Yeah.
that we
You want
need.
somebody that can run with Marty Natchez if Natchez can continue the run he's been on, right?
Agreed. Agreed. All right. So there it is. Your turn.
All right. So we had fun last week with Zach and played some line shuffling. We played the Rod Blendamore game, right?
We did.
And that got crazy. So to clarify, being in all seriousness here, Seth Jarvis needs to be on a scoring line. I appreciate the energy he brings to a checking line, but and he's good defensively, but the kid's also got some serious offensive talent, and your forwards haven't scored in 140 minutes. So put him back with Aho, and let's see if we can't get both of those guys going again.
You are absolutely positively not wrong. Um, Jarvis on the third line was kind of cool idea because it gave a scoring threat throughout the lineup, and we knew how like hard Martinook worked as a puck retrieval player, and how Stahl is big and strong, and he can give space. So it makes sense that Jarvis is down there because he could make that line a scoring threat as well as the shutdown line because Jarvis has proven he can play D2. So it
Mm-hmm.
was a great fit, and there's no trouble putting him there. The problem is that Jarvis, especially with Aho, I don't think we needed any more proof than when we saw two shorthanded goals, or one of them wasn't because the
It was like a
penalty
second
ended
late.
one
Yeah.
second late, but it was essentially two. One goal by Aho on a glorious pass by Jarvis, then Jarvis scoring on a needle threading apple
Mm-hmm.
to get him to score. They work well together. Jarvis should be stuck to Aho's right side or left side, whatever, always, and don't leave it.
He's the
You
new
need
Teravainen.
he is like he just plays well. So I agree with you. And even if you are unwilling to put him right there on the top line, if you want to ease back his minutes, maybe just a tiny bit, then get him on a line with Natchez and whoever is our 2C, right? But to
Yeah, if you
me,
need to bump
Aho is the
Robinson
guy.
down, yeah,
Yeah,
I would put it with Aho. He works well with Aho specifically, seems to.
yeah,
And I don't know. It seems like a no brainer. And I get what Rod's trying to do, but when you're not generating offense, like go with
when
what
you're
works. Like
yeah,
I'm assuming somebody in that locker room is writing down line combinations and what's going. You know what I mean? Like they're
yeah,
keeping those stats. Like who works together. And Seth Jarvis has filled that role in that Tavo used to provide, I thought, really well in kind of the opposite direction, whereas Tavo would feed Aho for a lot of those goals that Aho got. Aho is feeding Jarvis, and the kid's putting himself in the right position and doing the things that make it work. So I don't know. That's my,
that's good.
not
You're absolutely
controversial,
not
but
wrong.
it just needs to be done.
Yeah. Absolutely not wrong. Now, here's one that is definitely has the potential of someone saying, Raymond, you are friggin' wrong. You're just wrong. And it ties in beautifully to what we've just been talking about and what we've talked about pretty much forever. It's okay that Rod changes lines so frequently.
A, for fun, and B, because it's like I don't disagree, but I do disagree. So I'm going to disagree.
There you go. That's okay. I'll be wrong if you think so.
Uh, in Jurassic Park, we learned that just because you can doesn't mean you should, right? Jeff Goldblum taught us this as
Yes.
kids. You and I, as older kids, but as kids,
Yeah.
we would learn this, Ray. The fact that we have 12 interchangeable forwards is an enormous asset to the team and the style that you can shake things up if you need to. However, even Rod in his own press conference the other day was like, we've tried changing lines up and all, that's not working. Right, it's not working. So let's put together lines that have shown that they work, such as Aho and Jarvis,
Yeah.
right? Put Svechnikov on the other side. Put KK back with Natchez and Robinson. Like, that's been working, right? Carrier wasn't with the stall line long enough, but Carrier has been, in my
Great.
opinion, our most consistent forward for most of the year. He's my new favorite lunch bucket guy.
Yeah.
He rarely makes a major mistake. He's out there and he hustles every shift. And he was like, hey, I'm not used to being on a line with two guys who outwork me, right?
Yeah.
Great. So yeah, I'm going to disagree, and it's okay that he does to a point, but what we're seeing is feels like scrambling. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Oh God, we haven't scored in 20 minutes. What do we do? Let's switch him up. Well, that's you're 140 minutes into that experiment, Rod. Let's not switch it up. You know what I mean? If
Mm-hmm.
for anybody who played sports as a kid, if you were the kind of kid whose coach pulled you or did something every time you made a mistake, we all know that that only made you feel worse and you didn't play better because of that. You just worried about
Mm-hmm.
making mistakes. And for any kids who were lucky enough to play for the coach who said, hey, you goofed up, learn from it, do better next time, get back out there, that helped instill some confidence in you. My coach isn't going to just ride me every time I make a mistake. And I know kids who have played for both, and it's really clear from the athlete's perspective which one is better. And in my opinion, Rod can say it's not an emotion. He can say he doesn't number his lines. When KK makes two mistakes in a game and then is on fourth line duty for weeks until an injury forces him back up to the second line, that should shake KK's confidence from that his coach doesn't believe in him. I'm sorry, it just should. And that's the
Mm-hmm.
opposite of what we need.
Brad, I just want to point out that you're one of the nicest guys that I know. Like, you are salt of the earth kind of guy. I appreciate calling you friend, nay, brother in arms.
Thanks for not making me mad.
But but
Could not be more wrong, Brad.
no. But you've been disagreeing with me instead of flat out saying, Raymond, you are wrong.
Oh,
So
I'll try
let
and
me
be
have
better
it.
next time.
Let me have it right now. I want it. You said disagree,
You can
so
say it. You can say the words.
I want you to
Ray,
say the words.
you are wrong. Rod needs to allow the team to develop some stability.
There you go. Thank you. And
Please.
and I'll be honest. I don't. Uh, it's funny. I don't even know that I agree with the statement that I made so much. In so much as, again, having that just veritable cornucopia of options and switching them all now, to me, is like information that you can gather as you prepare further down the season. where if you don't try all of the options that you have available, like other teams don't necessarily have the options, hence they can't change lines as much. We've got the options to switch as much as we need. And at some point, you might find information that says, oh, this particular line goes really well together. Put that back in the mental Rolodex. Now, these guys work really well together. Throw that in the roll. It's like it's always an opportunity to learn who works well with whatever, so that somewhere down the line, AKA in the playoffs, you can get the lines that you need. You can already have the information that you need. If one of them goes down with an injury, knock on wood, it never happens. But if someone goes down, you've got another line that you say, yes, these guys work well together. We're not lost. It's not devastating. They work well together. We can throw them out there. So that's where I think that the changing of the lines, although frustrating as heck, I think it offers a learning opportunity for the team to prepare for further down the road if more things need to change, and no one has to panic. But put Jarvis with Aho, please, come on, and just leave him there. So I mean, that's the thing. I agree with the other side and the frustration, because you want to see it, and the number of changes is just wow. So that was great, and you said I was wrong. And
it did. It hurt.
And that was, did it hurt? It shouldn't.
Got it out.
It shouldn't, but you got it out. Your turn. What's the last one?
This one, I don't feel like this is controversial, but I feel like it, in some ways it might be. And that is that Ryan Suzuki should have been the call up over Jost.
Okay. This is the weird one. I gee whiz, this is a tough one for me.
Yeah. I mean, Rod would tell me I'm wrong, so you can feel free.
Well, you are wrong unless you automatically put him into the 2C spot.
That's
and
fair.
Put KK down. And this is why Ryan Suzuki is playing lights out in Chicago, playing really well. Lots of minutes, lots of time for him to grow as a player. It's fantastic. How much time is he going to get on the ice to prove himself if he comes in and is put in that fourth line spot? He is only going to get maybe 8-9 minutes a game. And that can be stifling for a guy who's got the talent of Suzuki. So if you say that Suzuki is the guy that should have been called up over Jost and he's put on the second line, you are absolutely correct. You are absolutely correct. But if he never had an opportunity to be put onto the second line as the center, then you're wrong.
As it stands, I would put him at 2C for a couple reasons. KK's back at 2C because of the injury. And I know Rod told The Athletic, I think it was, and was like, hey, he's been, I just need more north-south hockey from him. I need him to cut the frills, do what he, but he didn't do that until Drury got hurt, which in my mind says not his first choice. Jost is called up, and I get the argument. Jost he's an NHL veteran. He has experience. He's already been up this year. They know what they're getting from him. All those things. I understand that. Ryan Suzuki has 19 points in 22 games. Last night, he got a goal and an assist. He's been absolutely on fire. He's 6'1". He's 190 pounds. He's 23 years old at this point. His career has been completely sidelined by injuries, eye injury, and then coming into camp. Like every year, this kid has been hurt.
Yep.
And it's at some point, you can't just say, well, Jost is somebody that the locker room knows. He's got some experience, blah, blah, blah. At some point, Suzuki deserves his shot. He's been busting his butt for this organization for years, right? Last year, he was in Springfield because of the lack of agreement, right? He still went in and put up 30 points in 51 games. He's looking to maybe double that this year. I mean, this could easily be his best regular season if he can stay healthy. And you bring him up and you put him at 2C. I want to see what the kid can do, because if he's dishing off to Natchez and Robinson, I think he's gonna get some assists. Like, I don't care. I mean, he's only scored 2 goals. I don't care. We've saw it before. I don't care if a person's getting goals or assists. You know, if you get an assist, that goal's coming from somebody, and that's all that really matters to me. So if I'm Rod, I would have strongly considered bringing up Suzuki, playing him at 2C. And if you give him a few games and it's not working, you can say, hey, kid, look, I'm going to send you back to Chicago. You're playing, you did well. Like, we're just in a tough position, right? You kind of, you give him an ego boost there, right? And say, hey, like, the team's just struggling, man. We're kind of doing this. I wanted to give you a shot. You've earned it, right? And that's the way you frame it. Because no offense to Jost, but is Jost going to really add to your offense? I mean, I get maybe Rod just wants the extra layer of defensive responsibilities. Like, hey, give me a guy who can play defense and not worry about offense. Mm-hmm. But Ryan can do both. So yeah, I think at 23, the kid, I think he's an RFA, which means he's got, I think, one more contract with us before he can do what he wants. And the kid has earned a shot. So
yeah, there's no question, and I think it's about time that he get an opportunity to prove himself. If not even just for him, but for the franchise. Because look, Suzuki comes up and plays second line center, proving himself. Then that is showing the rest of the league what kind of talent he is. And perhaps as a trade chip somewhere down the line, he's got the, tape on his resume that shows the rest of the league, hey, this is a talent here worth a pick. Who are you willing to give up to get him?
Here's a future.
So it works all around.
Can you give us a current 1C that you're going to lose, maybe to free agency?
Yeah.
To make us better, right?
That was a lot of fun. You know what? Now I have one more question to add to the "Am I wrong?" segment. Okay, so here we go. The listeners of Storm Cellar love the "Am I wrong?" segment and want it to return.
I think you're right, Ray. I can't. There's no disagreement to be had there, sir.
There you go. So we should do this again sometime, because personally, I really enjoyed it. I think we should do it again for selfish reasons.
And I want to hear what people think.
Yeah, I would totally love to hear what people think. Hit us up. Tell us what if we're wrong. You can tell us. You can say, Raymond, you're wrong, and you could say it any way you want. You can go, not safe for work on me. I don't care.
Yeah, maybe if we get some good responses, we can read them on air next week.
You know what? That would be great. I would love that. Good idea. Let's move along. Do we go straight to the storm report after all?
Yeah, let's do a storm report.
Cool. So we'll start. We always start at the bottom, and earlier in the season, it was hard to do the tropical depressions.
Mm-hmm.
There weren't many. And then doing the hurricanes was, full of low-hanging fruit. I think it's safe to say that those roles will be reversed.
Yeah, Brad, that script has been flipped.
Yeah, Brad, who or what is your tropical depression?
Is the team is the team an answer? The forwards. I'm going to put this on the forwards.
Okay.
Your forwards haven't
Yeah.
scored in 140 minutes. And in a couple of games, they have looked completely lethargic and just, I mean, I watching from home, I have not seen quieter buildings before in in memory. And I mean, what was it?
Yeah.
The Seattle game and then like the Auto game. I mean, it felt completely dead. And there's sellouts. I mean, with 82, 84 games now, something like that, 83 games. But you wouldn't know by watching and listening on TV. So the fans feed off the energy of the players and vice versa. So somebody's got to make a move, and only one of those two groups is being paid to be there.
Yeah. Yeah. True enough.
The other
Right?
is paying for the privilege of. So the
Exactly.
forward group, the forwards have to be better. Faceoffs have to be better. More, I'm going to call it selfish hockey, but more goals.
Hmm.
You know, I haven't seen as many one too many pass type situations lately, but we're still seeing some,
Yeah.
and it's better. I'm happy about that, but I really want to see like mad Sebastian Aho, who you can tell when comes over the boards that he's mad and he's good. He wants the puck on his stick because he intends to do something with it. Like we need that, but we need that from all 12 of those forwards.
Yeah. When Aho, you can see and feel it's like he's got one of those D&D auras where he comes over and he is going to impose his will on
Yeah,
the opposition, and that's how he does. And we've missed that. There's no question, and he admits it himself, which is even better. Um, so you kind of, I don't know if our listeners caught it, but you got my tropical depression within your tropical depression, and that is face-offs.
double depression.
Yeah. Um, and I said this so many, like years ago. In fact, I haven't said it for a long time, but the reason why the Hurricanes are so good is because they have puck possession so much. They are a puck possession team. And yes, they shoot a lot, which means there's a chance that they're going to give up the puck right away. But for the most part, they are a puck control team. They don't allow a lot of shots because they have the puck all the time. But in order to have that, you have to win the draw. And in games where the Canes don't win the draw the majority of the time, and I am meaning 51% or more, we're not, we're gonna, we're struggle in that game. And we saw it. We've already talked about it. The reasons why, we've been losing a lot of these games is we're losing in the face-off circle, which seems incomprehensible to me based on who the coach is. Now, I've also noticed that Seth Jarvis is not taking as many face-offs. And I'm wondering about that. Is it because of his shoulder situation? You know what I mean? Like, are they trying to protect Seth? Because you look at those face-offs, and I'll just point at the captain. Look at how strong he is and how low he gets and in there. And it is like the pressure on the upper half of your body to win those draws has to be immense. And that might be why Seth Jarvis is not taking as many face-offs. And
Yeah,
I just throwing that out there. But I say we need to win more draws. Rod was the epitome of face-off draw victory, and he can pass that information down to anyone on the team.
yeah.
Let's see it. Let's see the
Um,
results in the game.
to kind of to go backwards. Seth Jarvis is at 27% face-off win percentage, which
Mm,
is horrid. I mean, that's not even bad. I mean, that's really bad.
yeah.
Is that because of the shoulder? Don't know. But the reason he's
Yeah.
not taking face-offs is because he's not winning face-offs, regardless of the actual reason. It probably has something to do with the shoulder, is my guess.
Yeah.
But 27%, I mean, is not much
It's not
better than
good.
if you or I went out there.
No.
I mean, it's really not. I mean,
Well, it's probably 27% better than if I was out there, but I know what you're
okay.
saying. I know what you're
If you
saying.
if you played rec league hockey and you've taken face-offs, they're pros, but you're going to get some of those just from sheer luck. You know what I
Yeah.
mean?
Yeah, exactly.
Now that being said, I agree with you. So the real line that worries me is Natchez is at 41%. That's not bad. Robinson's at 23%,
Yeesh.
which means KK, who's at like 49, I think, is fine unless he gets tossed, and then
Yeah.
Natchez has to take it. And if Robinson has to take it, you know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
part of the 2C dilemma, part of what Yaspiri's close. I mean, he needs 4 or 5%, and then he'll be in good shape. But if
Yep.
he's not winning it, your chance of winning that faceoff goes way down. So every time he gets kicked out of the circle, it's a big loss for that line,
Mhm.
and that's problematic, right? So I agree with you. Svechnikov is doing fine at 50. Aho's at 55. Martinuk is at 63. Stahl's at 55. Even Jackson Blake's at 46. Jack Drury, you speaking of Rod Brindamore teaching you, Jack Drury's at 56.4%. And
Yeah.
if you look at how low he gets on the face-off, right? Because face-offs are really about leverage.
Hmm.
And if anybody who knows football, right, the lower you are, if you can get your center of gravity down below the other guy, you win. Size is, I
Yep.
wouldn't say it's irrelevant, but size matters less than center of gravity. And that's why when Jury's on the ice, I mean, the dude's in a full-on squat.
Dude, it's
I mean,
yeah.
I would need to lean on my stick just to get up from that. But it shows like when he's making faceoffs, right? 56%. So that is one of the big losses for the team with Drury being out, aside from being a really good positional player
Yeah.
and somebody who sees the ice well. Having a guy out there that can win you 56% of your draws, on the second, be it the second line or the fourth line, it hurts because, like you said, it's about puck possession. So
Yeah. And yet another reason why a thumb injury is so bad for Drury. Think
yeah,
about the stress on the hands
yeah,
in the face-off circle.
yeah,
I
and don't
mean that.
forget, like when the opponents know you have a thumb injury or a wrist injury, you're
Oh,
getting slashed.
oh yes, you are.
You're 100% getting slashed more often.
Yeah, no question. No question. Brad, who is your tropical storm? Who or what is your tropical storm?
The power play is my tropical storm. I mean, these all
Yeah,
kind of tie together, right?
they
The
do.
power play overall looks like it looks good. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? It's the fourth best power play in the league at 27.7%.
So what are we
But
crying about,
as we
right?
open the show with, yeah, when when you get 3 against, like, I forgot it was New Jersey or something, then those numbers
Yeah,
look good.
they
And then
do.
when you go over against the Sens and the Sharks,
Yeah,
that's not a great power play. That's simply a power play that is taking advantage of of bad PKs. I mean,
yeah.
trying to anyway.
Yeah.
So the power play, we all know this, right? This is nothing new. I don't need to drone on and on about it. But the power play needs to be more consistent and not 2 or 3 in one game and then none for 2 games and then 3, 2 or 3 another game. I would much rather have, if you said, Brad, you'll get 82 power play goals a season. You're going to get one every game.
Yeah.
I'd be like, yeah, I'm probably down for that because that one extra goal, that's, you add 2 more to that and you win almost every night.
Agreed.
It just takes the burden, spreads it out. So we need the power play to be more consistent.
And here's the funny thing. I promise our listeners, Brad and I did not discuss this at all. Our storm report ideas are our own. But once again,
You sounded like Rorschach.
yeah, I know.
Oh, sorry.
My tropical storm is a huge part of what yours was. It's offensive zone entries. There
Oh yeah.
are, to me, um, all we've started doing we have the speed and the ability to carry the puck over the blue line and get things set up without having to give it up, without having, and I know the idea of the dump and chase meant to turn the defenders around and you have the momentum going in. So by rights, you're giving yourself kind of a head start. It's like coming up to a red light where someone has stopped at the red light, and you are coming up on them on the in the other lane, and the light turns green, and you blow past them. It's that's how dump and chase is supposed to work. That's what it's supposed to do. Um, Too often for the Hurricanes, if they don't carry it over, they don't get that boost to jump ahead to
Hmm.
control the puck and maintain the zone. They give up the puck, and as we saw with the Senators refused to allow the Hurricanes any offensive zone time at all. They, in fact, I think, did a lot of what the Hurricanes do to the opposition, where the Hurricanes are great at not like forcing them to either dump and chase or knocking the puck off the stick at the blue line and foiling things before it even gets started. That's what the Hurricanes do well. Right now, we are not doing enough to gain the offensive zone to get things established. I think, and it's come down. Like, this is the tropical storm that's on the downward momentum unless they can get it turned around. I just love seeing the speed of Natchez and Aho doing enough to get the zone, push all the D back, and maintain the puck to get things set up. Good things happen from there. When we dump and chase, it's not as effective for us. It's
Yeah,
just not.
I mean, and this was a dump and chase team for years, in part because we didn't have the talent to skate it in.
Yeah.
But if you look at those 4 goal games where we're putting up 4+ goals on opponents, most of those are coming because they're able to skate it into the offensive zone
Yep.
and control play instead of throwing it down there and it's a 50-50 in the corner because you spend a lot of energy battling to get the puck,
Mm-hmm.
right? And that's energy, I don't want to say wasted, but it's energy that could be better spent jockeying for position in front of the net, right? So
Yeah.
I'm with you. I'm 100%.
All right. The Hurricane, which we thought and I think is super hard. I'm still scrambling to think of mine.
I got one.
Okay.
And it's a little bit because of how well they're playing, and a little bit because of we've seen a regression from the other one. So looking at the defense,
Okay.
Walker and Ghost, still love them. They still need to figure some things out. They're a collective minus, 15, which is
Yikes.
not ideal for your third pairing defense, especially
No.
when you have 30 points of your own between the two. And then Slavin and Burns are better. They kind of offset each other. They end up being a +1 combined. Slavin with a +4, and Burns would like to see his minutes reduced a little bit. Like, he doesn't need to be out there on the power play at all. He should rest those 3-4 minutes a game, quite frankly.
Yeah, no question.
But then you have the Orlov Chatfield pairing, Tenacious D as I call them, who's a +30. They put up 23 points. They are playing like your top pair. Neither
They
of them
are.
is better than Slavin alone, if that makes sense.
Yeah,
Of those 3 guys, Slavin is your best defender.
no question.
But Slavin is spending more time covering for Burns, I feel like,
Yeah.
which makes Orlov Chatfield your most reliable pair, in my opinion, at this point. Like, no offense to Burns, he's 39. He's still playing NHL hockey. That is an amazing feat. But in some
Unbelievable.
games he doesn't look like he's lost a step. In some games he looks like he is running in quicksand.
Mm-hmm.
So, not for nothing, but that kind of made these 2 guys stand out. Orlov, Chatfield, Tenacious D. Those guys need to continue doing what they're doing, because that is one of the few things that I have really high confidence in game in and game out.
Lovely. A great pick. Um, Once again, I'm stealing something from you to conclude. But this goes a little bit back further into today's episode. I'm picking Carrier.
Yeah.
I've had issues with a great many of the players on the ice. I've never had an issue with him. And he works so hard, fits so well, and you can see even in the game against Ottawa, he got knobbed. He had a surefire goal. He's in front of the net, takes a beautiful shot, and off the knob of Ullmark's stick. Like he was this close. And one goal in that game, I'm convinced would have changed the result. It would have changed the aspect of, it would have got the building jumping, whatever. But here's Carrier, just, he doesn't make mistakes. I've not seen him make mistakes, maybe little ones that he hustles back and fixes. You know what I mean? Like that's what he does.
Mm-hmm.
And the fact that he is with us for, what is it, 6 years at
6
2
years,
million?
Yeah.
I mean, you couldn't ask for a better price. You couldn't ask for a better price for a guy that works that hard and fills the role perfectly. Like,
yeah.
Carrier's my Hurricane.
Carrier is one of those guys that I talk about when I say when you don't hear their name, they're doing their job well. And that's your lunch pail grinder guy. He goes in, he works hard every shift, doesn't really make any major mistakes. He is out there, he does contribute on the offensive side of things, not a ton, but that's not his role. And like you said, 6 years at $2 million, even if you decide that you need to make a change later in the contract, giving up a $2 million contract with the cap going up to 92 plus million, and then probably getting up close to 100 million here in a couple of years, easy.
Yeah.
Super easy. Like it's not even a question. So yeah, I think Carrier is a great choice.
And I'll say this, if you look back at all of the times where the Hurricanes pin the opposition in their own end, and they do it for 2 or 3 shifts and just wear down the opposition and keep them on the ice for a minute and a half, 2 minutes, you know what I mean? It usually starts with Stahl, Carrier, Martinook, who get them pinned, and it goes from there. And Carrier's a big part of that too, because he's physical, he's strong on the puck, and that's where those things get started. Those really long shifts where we just wear down the opposition. He's a big part of it. That's why I pick him.
Yeah, I mean, exactly. It's no contest.
So I know we're running a touch long, but
yeah, we can put these last two things. I think these last two things fit together.
They do, and you brought them up, so I'm letting you take the lead on this. I think it's fun discussion coming here.
So we talked a little bit with Zach about who goes first, right? And I was kind of joking about Kevin Adams in Buffalo, right? You also got Patrick Waugh. You mentioned earlier Martin St. Louis and Montreal. They got absolutely beat down by the Penguins. I'm sure you were loving that the other day. 9-2.
I was.
That was.
I did.
I mean, that is a football score for sure. You also have Peter Laviolette is probably getting close to the end of his term in New York. And you even have to I don't know that Drury's on the hot seat yet because GMs just don't typically get there that fast. But when your GM is coming out and basically throwing players under the bus and, basically going to work around no trade clauses by saying, I'm just going to waive you and then I can do what I want, right? Players notice those things. Player agents, at least, notice those things. So Drury, I think, might be doing more harm than good in New York. So I'm fine with him staying. Don't get me wrong. Because the Rags' downfall, another loss last night, is helping keep you propped up. The Rags are now 5th. They were expected by many people. It was them and the Devils, 1-2 in the Metro, and then everybody else. Yeah. Right? The quote-unquote experts didn't even have the Canes in the top 3 in the Metro. right? They had us maybe a wild card, maybe not making the playoffs. And so the Rags downfall, is beautiful to watch. I'm really excited about this. You know, I know that it's bad of me to say so, but it is what it is, right?
No, no.
Um,
Here's the thing, Brad. I
they're
just
tied
want.
with the Islanders and Penguins, Ray, for
I
fifth in
mean,
the Metro, which means that they're basically seventh. You know what I mean? Like
yeah,
it's Rangers, Islanders, Penguins all have 31 points, and then the Blue Jackets. The Blue Jackets are going to leapfrog some of those teams. I feel confident. The Rangers might be one of them if they don't turn it around, and I hope they don't. So, Rags, please keep doing what you're doing.
yeah. Brad, you said that you should feel bad because of your wishing there. Look, as someone whose Schadenfreude effect is very deep seated in me for the team that shall not be named, uh, the Rangers, they're coming up strong. And I have a lot of Schadenfreude feelings for the Rangers as well. And if I'm if I'm saying if I'm saying who's responsible, I think it's Drury. I think that Drury is responsible for what's been going on, especially with the way he has determined that he's going to handle uh, his team and contracts and stuff like that. I think he is. However, who goes first? I think it's Laviolette, and I think that we've seen this firsthand here in Carolina. We win the Stanley Cup. He's the coach tied to it, and
Mm-hmm.
he did a great job. But there was a point in there where the team lost his voice for whatever reason. And we
He's a
don't,
high energy, demanding coach that every team he's been with within a couple of years tunes him out.
yeah.
If
And
I'm James Dolan, who's the CEO of Madison Square Garden Sports, Lavi would probably be gone before the season's end, and
yeah,
Drury, unless something drastic changed, would probably be gone in the offseason.
yeah,
But
uh,
I hope that y'all change neither of those things because I love what you're doing up there in New York.
yeah. Keep it up or down, whatever way you want to call it. And and I mentioned who goes first. Um, Martin St. Louis, I think uh, it would make sense that he would be let go in so much as the result of what the team is doing. Um, by now, I think a lot of people expected more out of the team that shall not be named, and they don't have it. They don't have it, and so you would think, yeah, you know what? Maybe we need to drop him. I think the only reason why I mean, I think what's more likely is that at the end of this season, he will be let go, moved to another position. Um, it's this is fact. Uh, French coaches who are French, are very hard to move out of Montreal.
Yeah.
Because they're French, they hold on to their spot a little bit longer than
Mm-hmm.
what you would see anyone else, and that's just the way it is in
Yeah.
Montreal. And so I think he's a placeholder right now, is what he's kind of become.
Mm-hmm.
I dig his I I dig he's savvy, he's classy. He brought and I'll say this, he brought the team out on the Hall of Fame game to sit
Yeah.
through at rinkside
Yep.
for the ceremony, which was all class. All
Yep.
class. And he's like that. He's done that many times before in other situations. Um,
Yeah.
but
I
by
don't know enough
performance,
about
he should be gone.
Montreal. Yeah, I would say I don't know enough about Montreal to know if he should be gone yet, but I will say that even if he wasn't your head coach, I would find a way to put him in player development.
Yes, no question. No
Like
question.
I think he was the right hire at the time because they needed somebody who could come in and work with the young folks because player development is an issue in Montreal. And I think that he could still be that guy. Whether or not he's the right guy to be the head coach, I don't know. But I do think that keeping him on in player development would be the right decision,
Yeah.
whether it's at the, working in the AHL with Laval or staying on and working with, with younger guys around, the big club.
Yeah.
So,
And
yeah,
Patrick Waugh, we've talked about him, but it's worth reiteration. Most of the fans love, and the media love the way he is. Always forthright, always, straightforward
hmm
to a fault and passionate, right? That's why people love him.
yeah.
I challenge anyone who would be playing for him to tell me that they love that kind of passion, that kind of forthrightness. You know what I mean?
Do as they
Playing
say,
for
not as
that,
they do.
exactly. Playing for that cannot be easy. It is a very difficult culture that we don't see with Rod. Now, I'm not saying that Rod doesn't go into the locker room and peel paint. I'm sure that he does and can. What I'm saying is he doesn't show it to everyone. Some business is left behind closed doors for a reason, and that's the way he does it. There is no closed doors for Patrick Waugh. There just isn't. So
I
that's
I was laughing because I don't know that Rod peels paint. I don't know that that's him. I hope it is. Does that make sense?
I hope it is too, and it seems like he's just he's a straightforward guy too, who is passionate. I mean, look at how he is on the bench with the calls that are absolutely terrible. I mean, he's peeling paint off the ice and off the boards when he's dealing with the refs, right? So
Right?
we know he has it in him. Does he
Yeah, but they're
direct it to the
refs.
players?
I don't know, man. There are so many nights I'm like, gosh, I wish Rod would just go in there and flip a table. But I know
Yeah,
I don't. You know what I mean? I'm like, I don't think that's his coaching style. You
maybe
know?
not, but
I don't know.
either way,
Before we wrap, real quick, two quick
sure.
shout outs. One is the Chicago Wolves have been on a tear.
Yeah,
They swept the Texas Stars, who were ahead of them this weekend. Got the big 4 points there.
nice.
Ungersorum, Suzuki, Nadeau, all those guys I think had goal and an assist last night. Huge movement forward for the Wolves. They are playing really well. The second one is a little off topic, but the game was going on while we're recording. So congratulations to Crystal
Crystal
Palace
Palace, they were
for
up 2-0
beating
at half.
Brighton. They ended up winning 3-1. It was an absolute masterclass in how you can just take Brighton and just go around them. And it was a beautiful game. And so I just wanted to give a shout out to Crystal Palace for finally getting out of the cellar. Like they were just out of regulation. They were like 1 point out of regulation zone.
Oh
They
my.
got 3 big points today, which moves them up in the table 5 or 6 places. So a
Wow.
much better result. They have Arsenal back to back. One is a Premier League game. The other is the Cup quarterfinal. So they
Oh
actually play
my.
Arsenal back to back. If you're going to win one of those, boys, win the Cup game.
Win the cup one. Win the cup
So,
one. I
but big
agree.
shout out there. Very proud of those boys today. So.
That's fantastic. A couple of games this week. How many games do we have this week? We have one coming up here in just a few hours against
Yep,
Columbus.
3 early start. Columbus, 5 o'clock.
I call that one a win.
Yep, and then the
Okay.
Islanders on Tuesday.
And
Hey, which Canes team shows up?
yeah,
The
well,
good one
that's
or the
what
bad
it
one? If the
is.
good one shows up, they should get a win. If the bad one shows up, it's flip a coin.
Yep,
Same thing on Tuesday. I mean, they have to get out of this funk. You
they
know,
do.
Yeah, 5 o'clock start, Columbus today, 7:30 start, New York Islanders at home, and then they have the Capitals away on Friday, which is should be the only real tough challenge here. You should get 4 out of 6 between these three games.
That's what I'm looking for. I would. They're all Metro teams too, which is these are important games to win. I want 6. I think we'll get 4. And if we're going to only get 4, I'd like 2 of them to come from Washington to reel them back into us.
Yeah, if you're going to lose a game this week, preferably lose today.
Yeah, because the other teams they are very far off. Doesn't hurt as much.
Nope. If
you're going to lose, that's one. I want to bring Washington back because, folks, they are legit. And if I'm Washington, OV is not back in the lineup yet, is he?
I don't think so.
I would let him cool his heels they're playing so well without him. There's no need to rush him back. And I know that is not going to work because OV's going after the record and he'll want to be in as quickly as possible. So he'll play, but they're playing so strong. Wouldn't it be nice to give Ovechkin as much rest as possible as you further down the season?
Yeah, I think he'll be back as soon as he can. I mean, he's already on the ice. He was on the ice skating after 10 days or something ridiculous. So, but
a broken leg, and he's that's insane.
That's
why they're
doesn't feel
pro
like
athlete.
That's a good idea, but
pro athletes are built a little different. So. Yeah, they are.
So so boys need to get 4 out of 6 here. Preferably 2 of those come at the expense of the Washington Capitals, and then we're planning on recording next weekend. You have back-to-back Rangers Preds away before the Christmas break, and then you come back to a back-to-back home and home with the New Jersey Devils. So this week is an easy week, as was the last, in theory, 2 weeks. So if you want to get some points, today would be a good start.
In theory, next week, too, with 2 games against the horrible, awful Predators.
But next week, you should get 6 out of 8. You should beat the Rad Preds, and you should split with New Jersey somehow.
There you go. That's really it. Great episode. Again, a reminder, did you like the Am I Wrong segment? Did you think that either of us were wrong? Hit us up. Let us know. Tell us why. And we can make you famous too. Because infamous. I think we are infamous. I think we're the infamous, aren't we? I don't know.
That could be.
Great episode. Lots of fun.
Thank you.
There's just one thing left before the big game tonight.
Go Canes.
Go Canes.
Thank you everyone for tuning in. Ray and I greatly appreciate your support in helping us produce an informative and fun podcast. As always, we'd like to say that we believe hockey is for everyone. Whether you're a Caniac or a bunch of jerks, doesn't matter, as we're just a couple of jerks anyway. We would love to hear your questions, comments, and suggestions. We will do our best to answer anything hockey related. You can reach us via email at stormcellar97@gmail.com. On Twitter, we are at stormcellar97, and on Facebook at facebook.com/stormcellar97.